Well, it's 1 o'clock and it's time for black belt script practice and role play. Hey, I'm Denny Grimes. I'm coming from Southwest Florida. I'm a mega agent in Naples, Fort Myers, and I welcome you guys, particularly the Boldies, Bold October, or past Bold graduates, or all those we've invited. Today, we're going to spend some time talking about a couple of different objections you're going to be getting, if you haven't already, particularly this time of year and what's going on. I have a normal role play class on Tuesdays, and we did spend some time talking over these objections, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper. So this is class number 2 of the 4-part series. And so if you're new to my program here, I like to, these are people just logging in. So if you're hearing the bell, it'll be over in a moment. I teach something, my type of karate, so to speak, is what I call question-based, listening enhanced conversational scripts. And everything that my style, everything that I want to do moving forward is demonstrating how you can get power over a conversation with the use of questions, right? And I always seem to refer to what I call the model or the formula. And the formula goes as follows. And this is taught in the Bold material. I didn't come up with this. However, it works perfectly, is the acknowledgement. Then, of course, you're going to isolate. And under isolate, I'd like you to write down so you can kind of get into your brain. The isolation is unload, then unpack. Think of the groceries in the car. You don't take one bag out, empty it, put everything away, go get another bag. You unload your car before you unpack your groceries. So I want you to think in terms of always unload and unpack. That is going to make sure that you have everything on the table before you start addressing any concerns. And that's not the normal reaction of most people. In fact, when they hear an objection, they want to go and dig deeper into it. I'm going to ask you to be patient and wait till you get everything on the table, isolate the objections or objections. Then what we do, although it's not shown here, is if there's more than one concern they may have, and it's very possible they could have several, then ask them the powerful question of the things you've just listed here today, which one seems to be the most important, or which one would you like to have me cover first? Then you're going to address it and close. Now, notice here the words I selected, address, are specific. I didn't say answer it and solve the issue, because many times people will make their decisions what's best for them. And I like what Gary says. And again, I believe this, I teach this not to be attached to the outcome. We're not going to be getting anybody into kind of a hammerlock to make them do something they don't want to do. And we're going to have such an awesome follow-up program if they don't want to do business with us that particular day, and maybe they're not going to list or they're not going to buy right away. I trust that we'll have the relationship that we'll be in business when they're ready, and they won't forget about us, and we won't let them forget about us. So objection 1, and how I'm going to do this class is because now we're going to kind of chunk it up into some videos, is I'm going to handle an objection. And this one actually is going to be on 2 different sides. I want to handle an objection from a buyer and also from a seller. We want to wait. Have you ever heard that before? Buyers say it, sellers say it. Sometimes agents say it. They want to wait. They don't want to go to work yet, right? So the reason I want to cover this, and I covered it with some of my group on Tuesday, is there's some things going on right now that you might get this a little bit more frequently now than you did maybe a month or 2 ago. Why? Well, it's the holidays, and you might have a lot of people wanting to wait to buy until after the holidays. You may have some sellers that want to wait to put their home on the market until after the holidays. So we're going to cover that in some depth with powerful questions. And then another reason buyers and sellers may want to wait, particularly when you watch the news. Some people thought basically after the election, the COVID, threat or the coverage of it would subside, and it hasn't. The numbers seem to be climbing, and there's maybe more concern right now than there was 60 days, 90 days ago. And so it's something that we've lived through. It's a little bit easier this time. However, you may find some buyers and sellers going to the fence because of COVID numbers. And it basically says we want to wait. So what I thought I'd do is take maybe 5 or 10 minutes and spend some time on the seller's objection that we want to wait. Now, regardless of what our clients want to do, buy now or not buy now, sell now or not sell now, there are potential side effects or negative reactions or consequences by them not doing it. Everything, and this is worth writing down, I don't spend tons of time on it during our role play time because I trust you can ask the questions. However, it's very, very important that you guys understand why they want to buy and sell. Not only from a practical side or a mental side or a fact side, you want to understand from an emotional side. I said today to my team and during our practice and role play, which we do 4 days a week, is that unless you fully understand their motivation, it's very similar to putting together a crossword puzzle where you don't have the picture of the box, you just have all those pieces. When you fully understand motivation, you will have a pathway to help them self-discover the pros and cons of them acting now or acting later. So let's talk in terms of we want to wait, we want to sell. Hey, look, they might even say, we're going to choose you when we sell, we want to wait. That's awesome. Now, what should we maybe know about the market right now? And so I'll share some information with you that you can make note of. And this is a national figure. This just came out a couple of weeks ago. They're talking about third quarter numbers. Prices are up 12% in the last quarter number 3, which is the most in 7 years. Now, why I want you to know that is this. If sellers have been waiting and you understand, again, you can be the local economist of choice by sharing this information. You can localize it if you want to your market, which we have done for Naples and Fort Myers. However, that number kind of works, right? You can congratulate them because if basically by them waiting until now, they've watched their home grow in value on average. It's 12% third quarter over, actually what they're talking about here is third quarter over second quarter. Now, the important number, I'm just going to make a side note here. There could have been a dip in quarter 2 and quarter 3 went up. That's the 12%. However, what we found in our marketplace, I went back to January until now, our prices are up double digit from January. So we had to slow down in May. And prices didn't really decrease much. The volume did. However, there has been a considerable push up in value. So understand if a seller wants to wait in this market, they may want to wait because every day they wake up, their house is worth more money. However, what Gary says and what we know from history, sooner or later that may change. However, and I don't think I've shared this next slide with this group yet, in my 37 years of real estate, I really believe right now that we are in a GOAT market, the greatest of all time. And that is a very powerful concept because if you could pick any awesome time for a seller to sell, wouldn't it be in the greatest market of all time? I mean, I've got 30 some years experience, right? And I go back to the bubble years of 2004, 5, and 6. Yeah, we had fast growing prices. However, we had a lot of speculation. We had excess inventory. We had lenders making loans that they shouldn't have made. This market right now, setting aside what we're going through the pandemic, is the strongest, most rational, fundamentally based real estate market I've ever seen because there's not an oversupply. Prices aren't going through the roof yet. It's an awesome time for a seller to sell. In fact, if a seller would say, I want to wait, we did a role play today where basically the seller said, I want to sell. It's my second home. And we're going to be talking about that here in a little bit. Maybe a shadow seller. They have a second home and they don't want to sell. They're going to wait for a year to sell. Maybe they'll rent it out. We're getting a lot of that type of conversation. And I'm going to give you the ammunition right now that you can have in your quiver as you approach a seller that basically has the idea of wanting to wait. If you've been on any of the classes I've done before, I've given you guys 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market now. Really quick, I'm going to go through those if you don't have them, because this is the message of the moment. The 7 reasons sellers should act now. So if you just listen to me, maybe jot a couple of different notes. At the end of this, I'll let you basically take a picture of it all if you want, and I'll show you how we're using it in our market in order to attract sellers to us. The number one reason sellers should act now is basically inventory shortage. You all know this, there's a big shortage of inventory out there. However, let's just think in terms of if you're having a conversation with a seller, and this is a great question to ask seller. Hey, listen, you want to wait? Well, let me ask you, this is, some people think the greatest market of all time, and there's 7 reasons why you should be on the market now. Would you like to know what they are? Again, a question. Number 1, inventory shortage. That's an advantage to the seller, correct? And when you have an inventory shortage, what happens is, because there's more buyers than sellers, it automatically raises prices. Again, advantage seller. Number 3, there's less seller competition. Now, this is an interesting thing going on right now because we're having COVID 2.0, with a resurgence of it, and maybe the shutdown of some areas and et cetera are getting a little bit more strict. That's going to cause many sellers to go from being ready to move now to want to wait. Now, if you have the proper conversations, which we're going to go through here in a little bit, with a seller in order to get them off the fence, there's going to be less seller competition because some of the sellers are going to be on the fence that should be in the market, which puts a higher squeeze on, or shortage, I should say, on inventory, and even pushes prices up. So everything is going in the favor of the sellers so far, because some sellers that come off the market, the ones that stay in will win. And if you have your pencil out, what I'd have you write down, because I use this script very often, you guys, you cannot win in this market. Technically, you can't win in any market unless you're in it. So you can't win in a market unless you're in it. So number 4, the buyers are motivated. Now, this is going to be true right now during the COVID time, and it's going to be true now until the end of the year. If you have buyers that are calling you, wanting to see houses, the closer we get to Christmas, I promise you, the more serious they are, because they've got their hands full, doing shopping, getting ready for company, and buying groceries and making sure you've got plenty of toilet paper if you can find that, right? So if they're looking at homes now, most likely they're going to be serious. Well, in this market right now, because of, I'm going to show you here next, of low interest rates, the buyers that are in the market in spite of COVID are serious and motivated. Not a lot of brick kickers, not a lot of looky-loos. So that's number 4. Number 4. I want to make sure, you guys want to make sure you want to mic out, mute yourself if you're in a noisy spot. So number 5 is a spike in buyer activity. You guys are seeing it. We just had like 3 months of our best, well, I guess it would be the August, September, October, and even November that we've ever had. So right now it hasn't slowed down. Typically we have a slowdown in quarter 4. There's a spike in the buyer activity. Why? People, low interest rates, buyers buy when the market's moving up. If you want to see how quickly the market can change, let it hesitate just for a moment, or maybe start to level off, or as buyers fear that their peak might have happened, they are going to wait. And as the market starts to slip, and it will at some point in time, you're going to be shocked how quiet it gets, because buyers go to sleep every day. And when they wake up the next morning, it's Christmas, because the home they're looking at theoretically is worth less. So right now there is that spike in buyer activity that we have not seen any sign of slowdown. Number 6, record low interest rates. You guys get this. I've said it before, if you've been in real estate for less than 10 years, you've not seen interest rates above 5%. A lot of us old timers know that they've actually been double digits. I am thinking about refinancing my house. It never even dawned on me, because I had a 4 or 4.5% mortgage that never paid attention to it. Right now, I can refinance as of yesterday at 2.75% for 30 years. Pretty good deal, pretty good interest rates, right? And the last reason is this. Right now, there is a great opportunity for sellers to sell. The window is open. How long it'll be open, I have no earthly idea. So here are the 7 reasons. If you'd like to take a copy of that, a screenshot of that, or a picture, you can do that. I also have these posted. If you go to Denny Grimes Mastermind, I have these slides and this information there. You can download it. I have a lot of resources there. It's all totally free. And why I'd like you to do that before we go into the role play is one of the things that we teach is how you can bring sellers to you. And many agents are doing this. I'm doing it, and our team's doing it. Kristen Cole, I'm part of the Kristen Cole Network. Her agents are doing it. This was, it may be a little fuzzy there. However, this was a social media post and in our constant contact, our email to our sphere and database. And we had 5 sellers at least call us and start a conversation regarding what? There's a shortage of homes. There are 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market now. Now, you don't list the 7 reasons. You just say, would you like to know what they are? You start a conversation. So that's an easy way to basically maybe have a seller initiate a conversation around that subject with you guys. So let's go into our first role play. And well, actually, we have buyers and sellers. So let's go to our first role play of a seller is that we want to wait. Now, Sonny, you're there, right? Why don't you ask if there's anybody that's on there that would like to just role play and be a seller with me. Anybody volunteer to be a seller?
I'll do it, Danny.
Okay.
Is that Al?
All right, thank you. Bye.
Al, is that you? Because I'm not watching the Zoom.
Yes, that's me.
All right, so guys, I'm going to go and follow. Well, this will be like a 4 or 5 minute deal. Then we're going to switch it over to a buyer. The buyer wants to wait. I'm going to use the model: acknowledge, isolate, answer, close. Okay, so I'll just go back here a couple so you can see that. So Al, we're sitting at your kitchen table, right? And I've gone through kind of a presentation a little bit myself, and I'm going to say, so Al, let me ask you a question. Based on what you've seen here, are you ready to move forward with me today?
I don't know, Danny. I'm a little concerned about COVID-19.
Oh, I understand. So there's the acknowledgement. Now, I was going to give you a play-by-play. Let me do that because this is the black belt part of it here. Notice he's concerned about COVID. Now you've heard the words. What I'm going to now suggest and editorialize around that, I have no earthly idea what that means, because whatever it means to me, I don't know if it means the same to him. So what I want to make sure I do before I drill down, because I could ask him 15 questions about what that means, is I want to get everything on the table. So I understand that, El. There's a lot of people talking about COVID nowadays. Other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't move forward of getting your home on the market? In fact, what even would be a stronger question would be this, because right now, because I didn't go into motivation in the role play. However, if you were sitting there, I know that Al, who happens to live in Phoenix, he wants to get into the mountains. He wants to go to South Dakota to have a cabin so he can hunt and fish and, enjoy that. As he saw Yellowstone, he wants to live out that way, right? So is there any other reason, Al, that you wouldn't want to get moved to Wyoming or Montana? They're the same to me.
Well, obviously that's where we ultimately want to get to. But right now we've also got the holidays coming up. I'm going to be with family, and I'd sure hate to put my family in jeopardy by allowing somebody into my home and getting the virus.
Okay, so now I'm not clear, and this is worth remembering, okay? If you're not clear, get clarity. So, because he started to go down the road, which I understood about the holidays. However, then he brought in COVID again. So, Al, are you concerned about the time of year because it's the holidays and people will come through your home and you're afraid of contracting COVID? Or is there a part, does it have anything to do with Christmas right now, or is it COVID?
No, we're going to do Christmas at my daughter's, so we don't have to decorate.
Okay. Are we at the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop yet? I don't know. So all right. So that gives me some clarity. Thanks so much for that, Al. Is there any other reason why you would, be delaying your trip to Montana?
Well, just said it's cold up there, and it's hard to look at property with snow on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So that's interesting. All right. So I'm making note of this, Al. Anything else I need to know that might be holding you back from getting your home on the market so you can get moved to Montana?
You think there's any possibility that we could put the home on the market, hopefully get an offer, accept that offer, and still live here for a couple months?
Well, what's interesting about that now, how many of you guys that are listening would be a little surprised at where he went with that? Now, again, this is a role play. We don't practice this, and he could do whatever he wants because he's being whoever he wants to be, right? So here's what I'm seeing. I'm watching him play chess. I know I'm switching metaphors from black belt to being a chess master. When he said that, then I'm going to say, well, if we could do that, would you want to move forward?
Yes.
Now, I'm just going to step out of role here, and I'm going to ask you guys, what happened to COVID? Al, what about COVID?
Well, COVID's still a concern, as I mentioned. If we can find a way to get around that, where I can feel secure.
Well, again, when you listen, and again, I want to get clarity because maybe I didn't hear him right. I understood COVID. I had it off to the side. Then he said, well, if we could maybe sell it and stay here for a while, would that be possible? I said, if we could do that, would you be interested? He said, yes. Led me to believe that COVID no longer was on the table. Because if somebody really had a concern of COVID, wouldn't COVID still be an issue there? So I'm asking for clarity. Now, I might have made a wrong assumption. So that's why I'm going to get clarity. So Al, if we could find a buyer that would buy your house and give you the number you want and allow you to stay here till spring so you can move to Montana, at that point, would you be ready to move forward?
Yes.
Now, I'm just going to say for the group here, Al, what happened to COVID? Because COVID is not even in the conversation anymore. What happened?
I already expressed that as a concern, so I'm assuming you've got an answer for me there.
Okay. Well, I would be assuming, okay, we're moving forward. Okay. So then if I made a wrong assumption, I'm going to say, okay, now let's talk about that just a minute, Al. Rather than, and I've seen agents do this, you guys, going through a litany and a laundry list of 85 different things you could do, as far as like we can have have people wear gloves, booties, hazmat suits, raincoats, whatever you need, mask. Why don't you just ask the question? So Al, you have a concern about COVID. How can we mitigate that concern so we can get you moved and get you top dollar for your home?
Can we limit the number of days people tour the home?
Okay. All right. So what would you have in mind?
I don't know, maybe have it available on weekends and on Wednesday.
Okay. Now, what's interesting about this, you guys, if we would have gone through a bunch of stuff, what's interesting about what he's saying, and this is the power of questions. I would have thought he would be concerned about the number of people coming through the house, not how often. Now, he hasn't brought up number of people yet. So, okay, so Al, so if we were to have the weekends from, let's say, Saturday from 12 to 5 and Sunday 12 to 5, unless the Cardinals are playing, and then on Wednesday with appointment only, would you be comfortable moving forward like that?
Yeah, as long as we take the precautions and they wear a mask and wear gloves, I'd be comfortable with that. And also, we can verify that they've looked at the house online first.
Now that's interesting. Okay, so all right, so if we can do all that, notice I'm going right here. We've isolated and we've broken it down to he wants to stay in his house, blah, blah, blah. He wants to manage some social, CDC stuff. So if we can do all that, are you prepared to move forward with me today?
Yes.
Now, you can, if you have any questions or you'd like to layer that, you can go in the chat or you can unmic and you can ask some questions. That is a classic example of just asking a series of questions in order to find out some things. And what's what's interesting about how many times I do this, they surprise me. Now, we didn't rehearse this, and I had no idea what Al was going to say. However, it's kind of like when you watch and you're playing professional football and you're watching it, you're thinking, okay, they're going to run or they're going to pass. Everyone has an idea what's going to happen next. And I had an idea where Al was going. However, the way that he described it was different than I was framing in my mind. And that right there, guys, is the number one reason you want to ask versus start talking, because you're going to start painting a picture of what you think they said in based on their words wasn't what they meant. So again, you get clarity all the time. Now, there's one more thing though that I'm unclear of. And if you were here and this was an audience, I'd say, what? He added one thing that I'm not clear on yet. And again, you want to set expectations, right? You want to over deliver, not over promise. So Al, perfect. Let's shake hands, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he probably won't shake my hand. Maybe run a Zoom call, like knuckle bump or blow me a kiss, whatever you want to do. Well, you can't do that anymore either, can you? So I'm unclear on this. Al, how would you like me to verify they've seen the house online?
Can't you ask the realtor? I mean, I don't want just a lot of people parading through my house. I got serious buyers, and they have a strong enough interest after seeing the home online that they want to see it personally. I'm okay with that as long as they abide by what we talked about. But I just don't want to open up the doors and have hordes of people come through right now.
So would it be fair to assume, because we have, believe it or not, I still run into buyers that don't use a computer. And they might be a qualified buyer that would get you what you want for your home, and they have not seen it online, yet they're qualified. You wouldn't want to not let them see it, would you?
Again, like I said earlier, if the realtor that's going to show it can sell you on the concept that they do qualify and that they do have a strong interest for this neighborhood, I'm good with it.
Okay. So would it be okay then if we put in there in the confidential comments or comments that we're attempting here to, limit showings to qualified buyers only, and would you please respect the seller's wishes on that? Would that suffice?
Yes.
Now, you guys might think that's a small point. However, if they state something like that and they're talking about it, don't you think it's worth covering and get a clear understanding of how we can do that? Now, there's more than one way. Like, for example, I'll just give you another little arrow you can say. So let me ask you, Al, I know you're concerned with COVID, and I totally understand that. Do you think there's some buyers out there that need to buy a home that have the same concern?
Sure, absolutely.
So if they're in the market and in this COVID environment, they're probably pretty serious. They're just not wasting time and having fun because it's raining outside.
Well, yeah, I've seen other open houses going, and that are open on Saturday or Sunday, and you have a horde of cars out. You have neighbors coming in and kids coming through, and I just don't want to have a lot of people coming to the house, touching things, not abiding by the mask wearing and gloves. Okay. I just want some kind of control.
Right. So I can tell he's not going to be a candidate for an open house. So I think that's clear. Now, again, Sonny, you can speak out if there's anything in the chat, anyone who wants to layer that or add another objection to that. Just let me know. Anything in the chat there, Sonny?
Not that we need to know. Nope.
Oh, all right. So let's go then to the next one. I'm a buyer that I want to wait. And thank you, Al, so much for that. Give me another volunteer, or Sunday, you can be the buyer that wants to wait. Does anybody else like to volunteer for about a 6-minute role play? I'm a buyer and I want to wait because let's say it's not COVID. We've already done COVID. Although I can do it from the buyer side. Let's talk about, I want to wait till after the holidays.
I'll be your buyer, Denny.
And I'm not seeing Jeff?
Jeff Pennington.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, Jeff. So, hey, are you ready to go? And, we've been talking and we've spent a couple of days looking at homes. Are you ready to go out and find that special home?
You know, I am interested in buying. I love the fact that rates are low right now, but I am a little concerned about going in and out of other people's houses during COVID.
Okay. I understand that, Jeff. Other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to take advantage of a great market?
Well, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of competition right now. I was thinking maybe of waiting to see if that dies down a little bit when more houses come on the market.
Okay. So are you saying, right now, so let me ask you this question. I'm going to go, because again, I'm giving you different questions you could ask. I'll ask them the meat thermometer. So I know we've only spent a little time out there looking around. So let me just ask you this question, Jeff, no right or wrong. Based on your opinion of what's going on in the market from a buyer's perspective, because you are a buyer, do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
I mean, I think right now it's kind of working against me. I mean, I don't have a lot of money to put down, and I feel like it's going to be a little tougher to, just talking to some friends, it might be a little tougher to get, to get in there and compete and get the house we really want.
I get it. Now, what's interesting, stepping out of role, as many times as I've role played this, and you ask a buyer that, you might be shocked at what you hear. They might say, hey, look, I think it's in my favor, or I think it's both. I mean, interest rates are low. I want to take advantage of interest rates. Now you have a little bit of urgency on your side. Either way, it's the buyer or seller, when you ask the question, will give you the ammunition to, quote, load your gun. The other thing that I don't know if you picked up on that I said when I first talked to Jeff. So anything else keeping you from taking advantage of this market? Now, we're used to asking that questions to sellers, right? Because the cash register is like going up, prices are going up, and the sellers seem to be winning. You might have had that negative thought like, well, if the seller's winning like that, how could a buyer win? That's a mindset issue, you guys. Let me just put it this way, because I'm not really having a conversation with you. It is a win for a buyer to step into an upward moving escalator. You understand, if they buy today and the market continues, and it is continuing, to what point we don't know, it's been upward moving for 10 years. Do you think there's some buyers out there that maybe have been renting for the last 2 or 3 years that didn't want to step into the market because they were afraid, it was going to change, it was going to crash, they wanted to wait for it to go down? I just showed you an article over the last quarter, the prices were up 12%. Now, how many people basically, how many buyers, if they knew what they know now, would have bought 3 months ago or 6 months ago versus now? And so, yes, I mean, wouldn't a buyer want to take advantage of an upward moving market? It may go up for another year or 10 years. So that's why I want you to make sure you frame this. It's not a win for sellers and a lose for buyers. An upward moving market, everybody wins. So, all right, so I just wanted to give you that input there. So now I go back to you, Jeff. Sorry to put you on the sideline there for that. So because I think I normally write this down right now because I'm standing, I don't have it here. So going back, Jeff, you mentioned about the COVID thing, and then your second concern is that you want to make sure you get the house you want. Is that what you said? And you're concerned about, what's going on in the market with prices?
Yeah, part of me felt like we should save more money and have more money down before we're ready to, pull the trigger so we can more easily qualify for a house that we really like.
Okay. And when was the last time you were talked to a lender and got an idea of what the rates were and what your payments were?
Well, I mean, I was on Quicken Loans last week, and I kind of checked, and it looked like the rate would probably be pretty good. If I had more money down, it would be even better.
So we were talking about waiting. So I don't know that I've isolated everything. So other than that and the COVID issue, you talk about affordability, and it might be better to wait. You have more of a down payment, right? Is there anything else that's keeping you from moving forward?
I don't think so. I mean, we're really tired of being cramped in this place and would love to get into a new home.
Oh my gosh. Did you hear that? Did you hear his pain point? He's cramped. They're uncomfortable. That's music. You should hear violins playing, because now make sure you understand and hear those words and repeat those words back to him, because that's his pain point. Now, the other thing is I've just demonstrated, keep going till they cry uncle. So Jeff, you mentioned a couple different things. Three, I guess. Number one is you were talking about the COVID issue that maybe we can talk about that. You talked about the, your affordability, and in fact, I just forgot. What was the third one? Well, I don't. Maybe there wasn't a third one. Maybe I think you said that you were cramped. I don't think you had a third one. Did I miss something, Jeff?
No, it was affordability, just at making sure that we could get the house that we really like, with the amount of money we have saved, to make sure, and that we could compete.
Got it. Now there's two issues there. He made three different statements, but there's really only two issues. So and I'm modeling what you do next. So of those two issues, affordability, making sure you get the house you want. I understand you're kind of cramped where you are, and you've got the COVID issue. Which one? Is there one that's more important than the other?
Well, I mean, I think getting the house we want and being able to qualify, for what we really like is probably, of the two, is more important. I mean, I assume, we can go see houses without a bunch of other people in there.
That's why I asked that question, because many, many times, you guys, the COVID issue would take care of itself. And if you want to drill down deep, there's questions you can ask people, there's questions you can ask to get to their comfort level. I mean, I would say 99% of the people that have a concern about COVID, buyers or sellers, you can walk them through logical conversations in which they would feel safe in doing so, unless they're super high risk category or whatever. That would be a 1%er, right? So, all right. So let me ask you this. If what would you think? Have you been shopping online? I know we spent a little bit of time. Have you been shopping online and looking at houses that come available and so forth and so on?
Yeah. I mean, every few days I get that list you send me, and I kind of scour through it and pick out a few that I really like. And, I tend to go back and, see those, look at those a couple times and see if it's something that might work for us.
And are you finding houses there that might work for you?
I think so. I mean, I without seeing them in person, it's a little hard to tell, but I mean, from the, videos and photos I've seen, I mean, there's definitely some houses that pique our interest that would seem like they would meet our needs nicely.
Awesome. So again, one of the things I like to do working with a buyer or maybe a seller who wants to be a buyer is make sure they feel comfortable. If they've been out shopping around online or whatever, do you feel like that buyer will have a little bit more confidence in walking forward in a market in which they're watching houses that, that'd be pretty nice. That would work for us. That seems to be affordable. I like that area, blah, blah, blah. Versus, I haven't seen a single house that meets my criteria. Now you're getting a comfort level for where they are comfortable, right? So let me ask you a question then, I guess. So far this year, I want to ask you two questions. What have interest rates done so far this year? Have they gone up or down?
I mean, from what I've seen, I'm assuming they've gone down. It looks like from the news and even what you said earlier, it looks like they've trended down a little bit more than they were at the beginning of the year.
Yes, you're exactly right. They were a little bit over 3% when we talked, and we were shocked at that. That was record, right? And now they're like 2 3/4. So what's happened is your purchasing power has grown a little bit because now you can afford more home, right? Now, do you feel like, let me ask the second question, do you feel like home prices have gone up or down, let's say, maybe since the first of the year?
According to my neighbors, they've definitely gone up. Just from what I've seen on a couple of the houses that have sold on the street and talking to a couple of my neighbors.
Now, remember the article that I showed you guys, the 12%? Now, you could make a statement on that if you wanted to. However, it's stronger to make a question. There's a lot of different questions you could ask. Would it surprise you to learn that the National Association of Realtors just released a report on the last quarter, quarter 3, that home prices are up 12%?
COVID-19 and the economy, that does seem kind of surprising.
And it's the strongest quarter over quarter jump in 7 years. And again, there's no sign of it letting up. So do you think that's worked in your favor or hurt your buying power?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess if the prices are going up, it's hurting me, but if the rates are going down, it's kind of a wash. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So far, the rates have helped soften that blow for buyers. However, do you really think interest rates can go much lower? You think there'd be a stronger possibility prices may go up? However, rates are kind of about as low as they're going to get.
I mean, I've heard the term historically low rates, and they seem to be even lower than our historically low rates. So I would imagine at some point that's going to reverse. I mean, I can't imagine we're going to keep rates. I mean, we've got, changes happening and things, the economies could change. So I don't think that's going to last forever.
Well, then if the rates are kind of maybe about as far as they're going to go and there's no sign of prices, I mean, prices are up, actually accelerating. Wouldn't it make sense to buy now versus buy in another 3 months when prices could have gone up another 10 or 12%?
Yeah. I mean, do you think the market's going to keep going up this year?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've learned in my years of real estate, I've never been able to predict the future very well. I just look at trends. And for the last 10 years, well, let me ask the question, do you know how long prices have been moving up?
I mean, I don't know, maybe since when we had the kind of the crash back in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, you're right. At least no, not quite then. I mean, the bubble burst in many areas, and we had a reset or a recession in some areas. However, the market has been marching upward on prices for the last 10 years. What's interesting is I had clients that 5 years ago were thinking about buying, and they thought the market was going to change, so they waited. They're still renting.
Yeah, it would have been nice to buy 5 years ago.
So, well, let me ask you: if knowing what you know now, would you have liked to step into the market 3 months ago and save 12%?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and I know how you can do that.
How?
Well, you step into the market now.
Do you think you can get us a house that we want? I mean, if we jump on this now?
Well, that's why I ask you, have you been shopping and ask if you found houses? That's exactly why I asked him that. Now, you've been looking online, right?
Yep.
And have you seen the houses you like? And then you go back there maybe a couple of days later, they're already gone.
That's kind of why I was concerned, because it seems like they go so quickly. I mean,
Would you feel more comfortable waiting until the market shifts and starts to go down? And instead of you seeing houses sell, you see more and more houses come on the market and prices fall. Would that make you feel more comfortable?
Well, if that was going to happen anytime soon, but I really, really do want to get a bigger place. I mean, we're on top of each other, for the last 8 months. So I want to wait forever to see if that happens.
I am prolonging putting the fork in him because I'm just giving you different avenues and different questions to ask. Many times these role players in reality don't have to be that long because you can demonstrate where it's kind of like, when should you plant a apple tree or oranges here in Florida, 10 years ago or now? I mean, so let me just ask you, Jeff, would you like to hop on the escalator and get that bigger home so you're not crammed anymore and then possibly ride the market up as long as it's moving?
I think if we can make this work, I think I'm ready.
Another way that you could use a question in this is because he mentioned a couple of times they're on top of each other, they're crammed, blah, blah, blah. Well, what concerns me about you waiting is that every day you wait, your house gets smaller. Does that concern you?
Yeah, it does. Because if it gets a lot smaller, I think I'm going to have to move out on my own.
Really quick, let's just do really quick because you might get this. Let's just do strictly. I want to wait until after the holidays. All right. So that because right now we had to deal with COVID in the market. Let's just say, Jeff, you want to wait until after the holidays. This would be very fast. Let me just ask you. Let me see if I can limit it to 5 questions. Okay. You want to wait until after the holidays. Other than that, is there any other reason that you won't move forward now?
I
Just
mean,
say
I'm a
no.
little good.
No, just say no.
No.
Okay. Because I want to get 5 questions. That's one. So I've isolated. Number 2, define holidays.
I mean, after the first, I wanted to kind of enjoy myself during the holiday period with my family and not have another thing on our plate.
Number 3. So because I've limited myself to 5 questions, I'm thinking about this carefully, right? So would you want to be, if you had you have a choice as a buyer to be a buyer in a market that's strongly in your favor or it's neutral, which would you choose?
Strongly in my favor sounds great.
That's 3. And when do you think that is? No. Would it surprise you that because of the way you feel, there are other buyers out there that are taking the holidays off, and yet there's still sellers that are serious and motivated? Do you realize you'll have less competition if you're in the market now?
Does that mean we maybe could get a better deal now or get a better house?
Well, I've got one more question. If you could, would you want to take advantage of it?
Yeah, if that's gonna help us get what we want and make it easier.
And here's my statement. Well, Jeff, I know this for sure. You can't win in this market between now and New Year's unless you're in this market. So what would it cost you if you're in what I'm in another question, sorry. If you didn't find the house you really wanted between now and New Year's, would it have cost you anything?
No.
What if that one special home was out there and we had a very motivated seller and you were able to get a super buy on it? It was just hand in glove fit. Wouldn't that not be a win for you?
That would be a win. Do you think there's something like that out there?
Well, I know if there is, would you want to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Why not?
There we go. All right, put something in the chat box if you have any questions. You want to role play that a little bit. There's one more thing that I've got planned. Jeff, thank you so much for that. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Sonny, anything in there I need to know about? Is anybody awake?
Al Baxter wrote, wouldn't you ask when his lease is up and if he can rent month to month or sign another year lease?
Oh, we're back to Al's. Yeah, well, he's renting. Right. Yeah, you could ask that. Sure. Right. That would be an awesome question. Anything else in the chat, Sonny? I want to cover one more thing because many of you guys are working with buyers, and I want to cover this objection. We want to make an offer. And what's interesting is this is kind of a good depiction of today's market, right? We want to make an offer. When people come into your market, they might have an idea of what it's doing or what it's not doing. That's why I love the meat thermometer based on your opinion of the market. There's no right or wrong. Do you think the market's working in your favor, working against you? Regardless of their understanding of the market when they first start looking, they will be seasoned as you spend time working with them. And every market, listen, there's some axioms out there that we talk about. I'm going to go into some of those next week and of the next 2 classes. Is that not every segment of your market's moving the same. Everyone's got a sweet spot, right? So let's handle the objection really quick. And I will do this quickly. I need someone who'd be another buyer who would be willing to be a buyer for me. Like all the guys are stepping up. Would there be a young lady that would like to do a role play with me and be a buyer? I like the home and want to make an offer. What price do you suggest? who would like to role play that with me? Because here's what I want to get across. This is an advanced black belt type thing. I want you guys, and this is worth writing down, I want you guys to quit setting prices and start setting expectations. That's with buyers and with sellers. There's a formula that we go by. I'll show you that. You can take a picture of it and we can practice it. You can practice that some on your own. Do I have a role play partner who would like to be a buyer that's saying this? I like the house and want to make an offer. What price do you suggest? Do we have a brave soul out there? You see, I make it really easy on you guys.
I'll do it.
Thank you. All right, Nikki. So
Yes.
you see the house and you want to make an offer. What price do you suggest? So let me ask you this question. Do you want to make an offer or do you want to buy the home?
I want to buy the home.
So as you know, we saw this house, and so you're in Naples, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and we saw it's 450,000. It's been on the market for like 2 days. So you want to buy the home, right? You want to own the home.
Correct.
Now, again, for the sake of time, I'm going to ask, basically, if I ask you the question, do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you? What would you say, Nikki?
That it's probably working in my favor
And how do you mean that?
because of the low interest rates.
Okay, awesome. And so because there's low interest rates, that has caused a lot of buyer activity, correct?
Correct.
And the buyer activity, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I would never want to interrupt you.
No, sorry. Never mind.
Okay. And so because of the interest rates, you're exactly right. It's caused what we call a seller's market, which means there's more buyers and sellers. Are you aware of that? There's the
Yes.
question. Okay. So no matter what they say, you're going to educate them and there we have it. So this home has been on the market a day and a half, and you've seen it. How long have you been shopping for a home?
About 3 months.
Okay. Have you seen any homes you liked and that they found that they sold before you could act on them?
Yes. Several.
Yeah, we're finding that. That's kind of a definition of a seller's market. And now you've seen this house. It's only been exposed a day or so. And there's a lot of buyers out there. Do you think there's other people that might like it?
Absolutely.
So is it okay if I give you the formula for you to basically have your strongest possibility of owning it?
Of course.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to step out of role here a little bit because I want to, this is a script that takes a little practice, because remember, when a buyer wants to buy a home, what they want to do, how little can I offer and still get it? Right?
Right.
However, in this market, they're only getting one opportunity. So the script that I have, so I'll read this to you, Nikki, and this is a question. This is recorded. You guys can go back and look at it or take a picture of this. Let me ask you, Nikki, what's the greater pain for you? Making an offer less than you're willing to pay and losing the home, or making an offer less than you're willing, or making an offer much greater than the next highest offer and buying the home? Which one of those is the greatest pain for you?
Probably losing the home because I love it so much and that's my dream home.
All right. So here are some of the rules. Notice I said offer versus own. Quit using the word offer. When you say offer, that means something less than sale and asking price. That may not be what you mean. That's what they're hearing. That's what they're thinking. It does not work. Secondly, Nikki, then I'm glad to hear you say that, because in this marketplace, particularly with homes that are new on the market, that's the caveat. If a home's been on the market since Nixon was president, it may not be priced right?
Right.
However, the asking price on new listings is the starting line. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Good. Have you ever gone to an auction?
No.
Well, have you ever heard of a sealed bid auction?
Nope.
Okay, a sealed bid auction was something's for sale, and they have a lot of contractors bid on things. You could bid on anything on an auction. Instead of like everyone raising their hand, you get to write down one number. This is your highest and best number. You submit it. It's either yes or no. That's
Okay.
what we're dealing with here. That's why I said you want to own it or make an offer. So you asked me what asking price that you should give, right? And it's listed at 450, let's say. And you want my advice?
Yes.
Make it your best.
Okay.
Now you can push back if you want to, if you think well, what do you think? Guys, do not put your fingerprint on that.
I would probably ask like, okay, so what would you suggest?
Well, it's a sealed bid auction. I suggest you make it your best.
Okay. So then what happens if the house only gets appraised for so much and it's more than the price that I'm putting my offer in?
Well, in that case, and we can put in the contract, it's contingent on the home appraising equal to or greater than the sales price. The seller may accept that. And again, on a roll, if they have financing, that may be an issue. However, there's some markets, you guys, the sellers won't accept that. Now, I guess my concern, my issue would be that we can put that in there if it makes you feel more comfortable, although there may be another offer out there that does not have that contingency and that might put yours at a disadvantage. So how would you feel about that?
Well, I think it would come down to, if I had the extra cash or capital because I would be getting a loan. So I'd have to have the extra cash or capital to be able to, pay that remainder out of pocket.
I get it. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a limit. So let's just kind of, because I want to move this forward a little bit because we're running short of time. What would be, it's listed at the starting line is 450. What would you be willing to pay to own this home?
475.
Now, what's interesting, you guys, I had a conversation with an agent not long ago in one of my classes, and she had been working with buyers in this market and losing many of them. And the reason she was losing them was because of the conversation she was having. She was attempting to help them get the house for the least amount of money, and they were going in lower than the buyer was willing to pay and not getting a second chance. And so what happens is many times the buyers want the house within reason. They're not going to pay double for it. Yet, and when they don't get it, particularly when you tell them what to do, they're going to hold you responsible and they're going to find somebody else because they're mad and upset with you. So you're saying 475. Now notice, it doesn't matter what they say. Don't get in the way of it, particularly if you have an appraisal contingency in there. And believe me, it's not always about money. So quit thumping your chest. So let me ask you, Nikki, if you found out you ended at 475 and another offer came in and you found this out later, we won't know it until after the fact, $475,500 was the best offer. They beat you by $500. How would you feel about that?
Devastated.
Okay, well, that hasn't happened. I don't know if it will happen. However, if this was a Groundhog Day scenario and you could go back and redo it, what would you do different?
I would bid 480,000.
Okay. Now again, this is don't get upset with me. I want to make sure that I'm preparing you for what may happen. Same question. It's sold for 480,500. How would you feel?
I would feel defeated.
You guys, trust me on this. You've got to get them to saying, I'm okay. I've done my best. And that okay might not be 480,000. It may be 450,000 or 453,000. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's got to be their limit. It's got to be their number. And let's say Nikki says, that's it. I'm not doing any more than that. That's all I can afford. I'll just find something else. Must be God's will. I'll say, awesome, Nikki, because if you can lay your head on a pillow to sleep, I can. Now you've got one end of the transaction sealed. The last step is this. Nikki, last question. You said you'd go to 480, not a penny more.
You got it.
You get the house. Let's just say hypothetically you get the house. And a month later, you're at the grocery store, you're standing in line and two people ahead of you, basically you happen to see the seller. They haven't noticed you yet because they're putting their groceries on there. And not paying attention. However, you overhear this conversation. This is what the seller of the home you just bought for 480,000 says. The cashier, this market, real estate market, talking about real estate market, this market's crazy. I had my house listed at $450,000 and I had multiple offers. 3 of them were at 450, 450 and 455. And I had one come in at 480. It was awesome. Now you just heard that conversation. The next best offer was quite a bit less than yours. How do you feel?
Like a fool.
Okay. What hasn't happened
Like
yet?
a fool, but also at a winner too, because I got the house that I wanted.
You know, you guys, that is a conversation that I'm going to recommend you have. And I'm opening up the floor because that's the role play I want. I don't think that I've come up with a better way of handling a multiple offer situation than that formula right there. Because what you want to do is guard against them losing it because they tried to get it $1 or $2 less. Or now that basically you went through the conversation, or you allow them, or you did not stop them from paying $5,000 or $10,000 over asking price, they find out that the next best bid was less. I'm attempting to make you guys bulletproof, blameless, either way, because that's what a professional is supposed to do. Any comments on that, you guys? I just can't. I love that formula, and I think your clients and buyers, if you get around your own mindset around it, will appreciate you guys having that conversation. Anyone, open up your mic, free time. What do you want to say? What are your ahas from today, you guys? What are your ahas from today? And while you're getting that ready, I'm just going to show you our next class is going to be December 10th, same time, 1 to 2 Eastern. And I'll have a couple of different role plays. I want to get into some of the listing prices, offers, negotiation strategies on scripts. So that'll be on the 10th and on the 17th. Anybody have, you can type your ahas if you want to. Sonny, read them off if they come in. What do you have to say? What did you learn? What did you like? I want to get better, guys.
You can't win in this market if you're not in it.
Nice.
I have a question regarding a follow-up when somebody is successful with 7 bids, because we've obviously followed everything you've just said there. And then they start delivering ultimatums about the inspections for things that are relatively minor.
Okay, so you're the listing agent?
No, buyer's agent. And I've won against 7 people and a house hard to find, looking for 2 years. This is the house for these people. And they are now, the objection is, basically everything that comes up with the inspection is becoming an opportunity to say, oh my God, if he doesn't fix it, I'm backing out. If he doesn't fix it, I'm backing out. If he doesn't fit, the ultimatum.
Okay, so really quick, I can answer that. And again, I don't know where are you?
Maryland.
I don't know what your contract states. Are you an as is, so everything's at will right now?
No, we have an inspection period, and this was with we have an inspection period set in the contract. Seller has 5 days to respond to inspection requests. Buyer has 2 days after that. So buyer has last say in the deal.
Okay, so then number 1, this is worth writing down, guys. They're going to have to want to buy it more than you want to sell it. Okay, no problem. So what you're saying is over a GFI that's not working, or a spider web in the closet, you're willing to let this go and go back into the market and buy the same house later for more money?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah. What would you?
Oh, okay. Okay. No, but I don't want to be stuck with problems that I can't sell the house later.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think it would cost to fix that problem?
That's what I want to find out. I need to know that before I say yes to everything. Well, I mean, that's a reasonable request. So, I mean, what's of the issues, which one's the most important to you? The crack in the foundation. I mean, I know we've had the structural person look at it, but I don't trust that person's honest. Okay, so what's it going to take for you to feel comfortable moving forward? I don't know. I just don't, I'm not sure. So maybe I'm like really worried that I'm going to go to sell this house in 10 years and I'm not going to be able to sell it. Well, maybe this house isn't for you. I'm sorry? Maybe this house isn't for you.
Are you willing to pay more for your next house? Are you willing to start the process over again and pay more?
Well, no, I want this house, but I don't want it if it's going to be a problem.
Well, then, okay, well then how are you going to come to the conclusion that it's not a problem?
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure.
What about getting a second opinion on the foundation?
So,
Okay.
and that's, again, this is what
I
I've
get
done.
it. However, you notice I'm asking questions of what's it going to take? Well, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, then there's nothing I can say that's going to make you feel better. So say, well, if you had a second opinion, would that make you feel better?
Yeah. And that's where I went with them and everything. I mean, basically trying to figure out, going 3 deep, like, let's really, what is and that's what I finally found out the issue was. I'm going to be afraid that another buyer is not going to buy it after me with this problem. That was the root of the problem.
Got it. And so then how do you come to grips with that? You know, the girl I'm dating, I know this now because I married her. I just want to make sure she's not an axe murderer.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you going to determine that? Well, she doesn't even own an axe, does she?
Well, and that's the thing, how the person that is distrustful, I mean, that is the whole thing. You can't say, oh, you got to trust me on this. You have to figure out how to build the trust.
Well, yes. And if a professional's, if you have one opinion that says this, you have another opinion that says, okay, it's not a problem. Okay, maybe now you have, so what, at some point in time, you're going to have to trust the professionals, and we have 4 days to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
And if we get to the point where you aren't comfortable of moving forward because of that concern, then your decision is going to be to pass on this house and start the process over, or take the professional's opinion that can be solved. And I'm not attached to whichever one you do. That's probably the difference right now on how I'd handle that. Take it away from them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to say it's not a problem. Because what if it is? Now, cracks in foundation.
I can't. That's why I got the professional. I understand that.
Yeah, cracks in foundation scare me of, fixing. We have plumbing, we have polybutylene pipes in houses that now have to be replaced, right? And
I'm listing theirs with the polybutylene pipes. Yes.
Yeah. Was that helpful at all?
Yeah. Yeah. I just wondered, it's exactly where I went. And I was just wondering if there was another where to go. I was like, what can we do to make you comfortable?
For those, and I'll say this, I have a script that I use really quick. I'll tell you what it is when I work with buyers on the inspection, because generally speaking, now you open up Pandora's box and their head does a 360-degree turn after they talk to the inspector, right? Listen, the inspector is going to find 3 issues because we have a contract that has not the as is, our other one we call FAR-BAR. The inspector is going to find issues that are clearly covered and spelled out specifically in our contract. And the seller is obligated to fix those. Second item, he's going to he might list some things on the inspection report that are clearly not covered. Cracked windows, discoloration in carpet, torn screens, blah, 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 are specifically not covered. And you know what? You'll have to live with that. And the third item, and this is generally where it gets muddy, is that he's going to find issues that are silent in the contract, meaning they're not they're not heating, cooling, electrical, mechanical, or whatever. They're like the pocket door has a sticky lock, or the weather stripping on the door is torn, or the gasket on the refrigerator is like not solid. And so my question, before we even go down this path, generally speaking, those types of things can be handled with a handyman and a few $100. Are you going to let that stand in the way of you owning this home? So I go through that and let them know, the inspectors, because inspectors, believe me, I know as good-hearted and good-willed as they want, they sometimes create more problems. And then if you want to get a roofing inspector, that basically might be a cracked shingle or a cracked tile, the roof is three months old, and well, you need a new roof, right? So I understand that. So thanks for asking. Any other comments, Sonny, before we let this gang go?
Got to go to a singing great class. Thank you. That's from Nicholas. And then Joyce said, ask questions, guide the conversation for clarity.
Awesome. Well, you guys have been awesome. Thanks so much for being on class. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dang.
Bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Denny, how funny. It says a signing, not a singing.
What? What I do?
No, I was reading it and I read it wrong. It says got to go to a signing and I
Oh,
said
okay.
singing.
That's
All
fine.
right.
Thanks. I'll see you in a little bit. We got a call, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be right up.
Okay.